We're not here to repeat the headlines. We're here to find out how everyday Americans are pushing back on this administration. Our program is you, the American people, doing what it takes to preserve democracy. This is Resistance Radio. So what do you do if you live in a rural community? Is it even possible to organize in a small, heavily Republican town? This week, we are headed to Ohio to speak with Brian Webb, someone who is in that situation. Brian, welcome to the show.
Yeah, Russell, great to connect and great to be here on the show. I have been working in higher education for most of my career, much of that doing sustainability work. So things like measuring carbon footprint, educating students about environmental issues, et cetera. Also did some working with international students as well, kind of doing the international student visa thing. But have a varied and diverse background before that as well. Spent some time doing camp work, working at a Christian camp, and also spent some time working with a Christian missionary organization for about 4 years. And yeah, that's sort of my career. I've got 3 kids and a lovely wife, and we live here in Worcester, Ohio, where we've been for the past 2 years. And all of our kids were born in Western New York, so that's home for them. I grew up in the South and was the rare Southerner who always wanted to move north.
Well, tell us, a little bit more about your town, because that's pretty important to the story.
Yeah, Worcester it's a sort of classic mid-America, mid-sized Ohio town. We have about 30,000 people. We're about an hour south of Cleveland, kind of near the Canton-Akron area. And it's a beautiful town, a lot of lovely and wonderful people here, kind of in Ohio farming country, actually really close to some real significant Amish areas. And as you might expect from a small town in Ohio, it's pretty conservative. It tends to be filled mostly with people who have been in Ohio their whole lives, who tend to lean a little bit on the conservative side. And it's just a nice place to be.
So in this, smaller town, you're thinking it's mostly Republican, but you're thinking also that there's probably some other people out there that really don't, like or agree with what the Trump administration is doing. So you had the idea of reaching out and trying to find other folks to connect with?
Yeah, well, I think there's some interesting things to unpack in what you said there, Russell. First being even the most conservative areas of the country, there's still a large chunk of people that aren't conservative, don't identify as conservative, right? So like even no matter where you are, you're going to find, and vice versa as well. The most liberal areas of the country, there's still a large chunk of people that are going to be conservative. And then I think also an interesting thing to unpack too is conservative and liberal. I don't know that they're necessarily the best framing devices in order to sort of characterize our current political moment, right? So my parents are definitely conservative. I would say prior to the Trump era, they voted Republican every election of their whole lives. And their politics haven't changed, but the Republican Party has really drastically changed in recent years. And so they very clearly see that the problems with the Trump administration and everything they're doing, and do not in any way support that. And yet they still identify as conservatives. So I think even in a place like Worcester, Ohio, yeah, we have a lot of conservatives here, but a lot of conservatives are really upset with what's happening. We had one Army vet recently who was at one of our protests, and he got involved in our rallies and protests and activities and stuff because as an Army vet, that the straw that broke the camel's back for him was the whole sort of leaked stuff on Signal with Hegseth and just the irresponsibility of leaking classified information via Signal to reporters. And that sort of like tipped him to get involved. So we're seeing all of these people that don't fit the traditional mold of people who would be upset or who would protest against things that Republicans in office are doing are now all of a sudden really concerned about it because there's just so many norms that are being broken, so many boundary lines that are being crossed, and so many egregious things that are happening.
Yeah, there are a lot of disaffected people that really identified as Republicans, and it is so important to get them involved. But turning to you and your wife, what happened? How did things get rolling?
Yeah, we were so discouraged a month into the Trump administration in February, and we're like, well, we got to have something to do, something to do in response to this. And our first step, really, it was totally word of mouth. We just emailed some people that we knew in our area who were kind of like-minded and would be concerned, people we've talked to at work or at church or in our neighborhood, and that we knew were upset about it. And we just started by emailing people and saying, hey, we should get together and do something. And really, that was it. Like, let's do something. And those people emailed people, and those people emailed people, and lo and behold, sort of this like group formed up. And the we talked about this before we got together the first meeting, like what unifies us, what draws us together. And it was these ideas of defending democracy, defending people, and defending the planet. Basically, I'm going to kind of go back to my religious roots with this, of the idea, the biblical idea of speaking up for those who can't speak for themselves, is sort of part of this idea that connects to that, and standing up for democracy in an age when democracy is at threat. So that was sort of the unifying principle. And we expected maybe like, I don't know, 20 people to show up. I would have been really happy with 20. And lo and behold, our first meeting, we had 85 people show up, including a whole bunch of people I didn't even know. We had to shift where we were meeting into a larger room. Thought about having it at our house. It's a good thing we didn't do that. But we decided to have it at our church. They have a couple of big spaces there, and we're good friends of the pastor, so we're just asked, like, hey, is this space being used this Saturday? Could we use it for a group that we're trying to get together to protect democracy in the community? And he said, sure, that's fine. So fortunately, the space that we were planning on, when that filled up, so we moved to end up in the fellowship hall.
Okay. Well, the something you pointed out there, I really want to hit on is that there's, and I think this is for lots of organizers and activists, is the tipping point that people arrive to, and is that I have to do something,
Right.
and it's like as soon as people get to that point, they're ready to move and to organize and make things happen. That phrase has come up in our interviews several times, with
Mm-hmm.
different folks, is that I have to do something, and maybe that is, I just bring that up, that maybe as leaders and organizers out there, you need to be listening to that phrase, in the psychology of folks. Have you heard that much?
Yeah, especially at the beginning. And we all felt so helpless. I felt helpless. My wife felt helpless. We were talking about this, and the same thing. And I was thinking back through conversations with friends that I had, and like everyone just feeling helpless. And so that was really what spurred this idea. And definitely at the beginning, it was so empowering. Our first few meetings, where we took some time just to kind of pass the microphone around the room, and give folks a chance to share like their thoughts on like why they were here. And it really was encouraging to hear like we're not alone. It's so easy to think, yeah, we're alone with our discouragement around the crises that are happening right now in our country. And you're not alone, no matter where you are, no matter how pro Trump you think the region you're in is. There are a lot of people around you who are really upset about what's happening. So you're not alone. And I think that's really important, is to give people a venue to see and to hear that they're not alone.
Um, and to go back to getting the word out, you use just email and phone calls, nothing else.
Yeah, it was just started with email. We emailed people and we said, hey, if you know anyone else who's interested, send it to them as well. And I think we got it at the right time, that sort of beginning of discouragement, when people really the nationwide protest hadn't started yet. And so people really wanted anything that they could do to
Anything.
get connected.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So the first night happens, and you guys meet, and there's 85 people there. You're passing around the microphone. What happens next? What's the second, third, and fourth meeting? I think you said that you guys decided to meet every other week, or
Yeah, it's every other week. And it's kind of evolved a little bit over time. Our initial vision was that we would do some stuff together in large groups and then kind of work into breakout groups because everyone's got a different tipping point, right? Whether it is the ICE raids or the Hegseth memo or the Paris Agreement or whatever, everyone's got a different tipping point to be involved. And the idea being if we had different breakout groups, then people could work on the issues that were most relevant and salient for them, and then maybe come back to the whole group with ideas and suggestions. I don't think it quite worked out in the way we had hoped and imagined it would. Everybody's busy. It's hard to
mm-hmm.
get people to have enough ownership to really develop things on their own. That said, there were some things that we were able to do with that. And now it's just kind of become a sort of a check-in point for people to be able to connect with other like-minded people, to share thoughts. Our attendance is lower than what it initially was now, but it's kind of become a place where, like, hey, if you've got the Saturday morning available, then you can come, and you know that there's going to be people there that really care, and there's going to be others, and it's never going to be the same set of people that are there, but there's sort of always going to be people rotating through, coming back. My life's gotten busy since then as well, and so I haven't been able to engage as much as I did. At the beginning, it was really my wife and I sort of running the thing, and then we were able to bring in some more leadership and turn some of that over to them. So I'm not nearly as involved now as I used to be. Just the busyness of life and having three kids in middle high school. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at now, I think.
What kind of things have resulted? I mean, like having a group just to deal with the psychological trauma that's going on is certainly important and needed for the mental health of folks. But
Yeah.
what has there been also some other results of this group getting together?
Yeah, like I'm sure that you've heard in talking to many other people, we've had the regular rallies downtown. We've got a sort of a nice little square area downtown with a lot of public sidewalk space, and so we've had regular rallies down there. Not so much now that we're winter in northern Ohio. Nobody wants to go stand outside for a couple of hours in winter here. But for certainly through the summer, it was pretty regular, about every other week or so. It wasn't always consistent, but we did kind of follow a lot of the schedule that the 5051 group put out in terms of having regular rallies. And particularly on like the No Kings protests, both of the No Kings protests that happened, we were around 12, 1300 people. And that was like actual count. It probably was more than that, but those were actual counting of people at a certain time. And again, it's in a town of 30,000 people. We're getting 12 to 1,300 people showing up for Protect Democracy protests. And that kind of size, I'm certain these are the largest protests that the town of Worcester has seen in a very long time.
Maybe ever.
Maybe ever. Yeah.
So were you guys? Were there other groups that showed up, or they just heard that there? Like, how did that protest? How did people know to go to that location and protest there? Were you guys instrumental in setting that up?
Yeah, one of our leadership team guys is really connected in with he's a real community leader, sort of like a grassroots community leader, widely known and respected throughout the community. Does a lot of outreach kind of work, particularly in lower income neighborhoods downtown. And he really took the lead in that and has led things like this before. And he started a Facebook group, Defending Democracy Worcester, that a lot of people got connected to and found out about the rallies that way. And then we had our email listserv from our group that we would send it out to. And really, it was a lot of word of mouth and social media kind of posting that got people engaged and involved with that. And we really never formalized ourselves as an official group. We call ourselves Worcester Advocacy, but we're not an organization. We don't have a website. It's kind of on purpose. We're trying to fly under the radar as much as you can while holding rallies in town. But we Yeah, just trying to sort of like, yeah, if you're interested, get involved. Here's an email address, but we don't really have a physical presence beyond that because we believe that the people who are interested are going to find out through this sort of word of mouth, and it's worked for us well so far.
That's pretty awesome. That you guys were able to connect with the other groups and think about it. This historic protest for that town. Your efforts of putting this group together certainly attracted more. So did you, would the rallies happened if you guys didn't exist? Probably, yeah. Would it have been such a success? No. And
Right.
and and so that just again, emphasizes the point that if you've got an idea and a way of making things happen, give it a try, and you're going to
Yep.
be a part of that bigger aspect. Something, this is an interesting point that you guys decided to go making it an unofficial group, and it's just word of mouth. There's nothing documented, I guess, about where things are going.
Right.
There's a couple of strengths there, and maybe you want to explain why go unofficial.
We have been really intentionally nonpartisan in our approach, and in fact, we've held the local Democratic Party at arm's length, welcoming them to participate as individuals, but we really want it to be a nonpartisan group that is welcoming to anyone. For example, at our rallies, we encourage folks to bring American flags. Sometimes we pass out American flags. At one rally recently, I walked into the local hardware store and bought a large American flag in order to, because we want the people revving their engines and flipping us off as they drive past to see us waving American flags. Like, well, who's the real patriot now?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the narrative that we're trying to counter. Like, we want to be seen as like, look at all those patriots on the square protesting, the threats to democracy. So, anyways, that was just a comment I wanted to add to it. But yeah, we've tried to do some additional stuff into the community as well. Like, for example, recently when the government was shut down and SNAP benefits weren't being given out, we hosted on like 3 days' notice a big like canned food drive downtown. And there's plenty of other organizations in town that do this too, but of course the need was much higher because the SNAP benefits weren't available. And on 3 days' notice, just through like sending out an email to our email list, posting on social media, we got we don't have metrics for it because we didn't measure it, but just dozens and dozens and dozens of boxes of food delivered from people. It was just kept flooding in, and then lots of people coming to pick up food as well. And at the end, we probably had 20 boxes of food left over at the end of it, and that was after at least that much had already gone out to other people. And that was just all word of mouth. We had local businesses. We have a high-end olive oil company downtown, just around the corner from where we meet, and they came over with boxes of this like super bougie olive oil to donate for the food drive, which was so cool. And yeah, it was just a great event, and it was done on very little input. It's just all volunteers. People showed up to volunteer. I had something going on that day, and so I wasn't going to volunteer, but we brought some food, and it was just so much fun. We ended up staying and skipping what we were going to do so that we could help out down there, and such a strong sense of community as well. Just the kind of community building activity that everyone loves. And we added the food drive into our rallies too. So when people come to the rallies, they bring food to donate as well. So no one can accuse us of being these liberal communists who just want to like ruin America. Like we're bringing food for hungry people and waving American flags.
Oh my goodness, that is such a amazing thing in that we have a president that is trying to divide people and literally people that require the benefits and the food and the need,
Yep.
and you guys are in a very very practical way doing the exact opposite, bringing people
Mm.
together and providing, helping to provide that is absolutely needed.
Yep.
And the tactic or the thought is kind of like, he's bringing us down, or we've got to play in the mud. And you're showing that the fight back isn't to be the same divisive group of people. It's to be the very opposite, being open and inclusive to the people around you, making that bigger tent so that traditional Republican figures can come in and we're going to be patriotic. That is amazing. Any other things that you've heard about or seen happen because of the group you guys got going?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a number of things behind the scenes. Oh, we actually got 2 individuals from our group elected to local office. And that kind of spurred on from our meetings too. 2 people in our leadership group who probably would not have taken the effort to run for office otherwise, but because of this community kind of coming around and being built. And one of the things we talked about early on is we need to get people in local office who care about democracy and who care about people. And so 2 individuals from our group now, one to the city council and one to the local school board. So we're really excited about that, to actually get some representatives that are connected to our Defending Democracy group and that we know are gonna care and make their voices heard in positions of local power.
So before we wrap up here, Brian, do you have any tips for those out there that are in leadership positions?
If you're looking to organize in your area, get multiple people involved in leadership and refresh that leadership group from time to time, because it takes a lot of work. You're prone to burnout. You're going to get busy. The next people are going to get busy. So just kind of set a pattern of regularly bringing in new people who can be involved in that. I think that's how you sustain it over time. At least I hope that will continue to sustain here in Worcester over time.
Well, Brian, thanks for spending some time with us today.
Well, thanks, Russell. It's great to be on the show.
Well, here we are at the end of the show. Each time I do an interview, I get surprised. Before the recording, I knew about the group meetings. I knew about the rallies. But what I didn't expect was how Brian and his wife's group would affect other aspects of their town. Their actions, their willingness to do something that allowed others to come forward and act as leaders. A food drive was organized for people that lost their benefits. Plus, there was members of the group that ended up running for public office. Each time someone does something for the resistance, you are actually making it easier for others to act. You're inspiring them, motivating them, and telling them you have their back if they step forward. We hope you've enjoyed the show and hope you'll join us for the next one. Have a story that needs to be told? Send an email to russellspurradio@gmail.com. Support for our show can be sent through Venmo at Resistance Radio. And remember, the revolution will not be televised.
Resistance Radio.